This is my 2011 Range Rover Vogue 4.4 TDV8, and I've made it my personal mission to make it the best daily driver and weekend warrior as humanly possible. In this video, we'll be upgrading the archaic LCD screen for something a lot more usable, and dragging the old Range Rover kicking and screaming into the modern age.
Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Sam's Motor and Machine. Now, if you've been around the channel for a while, you might remember about 3 years ago now, I did a very popular video which was covering the installation of a CarPlay system to the L322. I think I was one of the first people to actually showcase this system from Unique Auto Developments, and it basically integrates CarPlay and Android Auto into the standard factory Range Rover head unit. Like I said, that video was very popular. I think it's sitting at somewhere around 130,000 views now, so you might well have seen it already. And the system, while not perfect, has served me really well over the last 3 years. I use it every day that I'm in the car, for music, for navigation. It's been really good. Now, one of the benefits, as I see it with that system, is that it does maintain the original Range Rover factory screen. However, that screen is now nearly 14 years old, so it's kind of showing its age a little bit. Even back in 2011, when this car was new, it wouldn't have been as bright or as colourful as we kind of expect in today's world. And suffice to say, after 14 years of use in the car, where it's basically on every single time you're driving the car, God knows how many hours of driving that is in total on this car, with well over 230,000 miles now, the screen has suffered a bit with age. It's kind of faded, and sometimes you can actually have trouble with seeing what the screen says because of the low contrast on the screen. So in this video today, we have something I've been looking forward to doing for quite a long time, which is an Android-based Chinese head unit upgrade here in this box. Now, I have to say, having looked at it, I'm a little bit dubious now. There are a lot of cables in this box. It seems like way more than you would actually need for this system. An absolutely terrible set of printed instructions with terrible pictures and terrible Chinglish writing. But the unit itself, the screen and the back of the screen, actually looks all right. So maybe it'll be all right. We'll have to see. But anyway, the reason I wanted to try it is because this is a 13-inch screen with really nice colour. I think it's an IPS display and about 1080p resolution, I believe. So it should look a lot crisper and a lot cleaner, and it should be a lot faster than the existing screen that's in there. All of these AliExpress Chinese Android-based head units seem very similar from what I can tell. I basically just picked the one on AliExpress that had the best reviews for the best price, and this showed up about 2 or 3 weeks later. Anyway, so yeah, let's make a start on figuring out how we're going to get this thing installed. So, here in the front of the Rangey, all looks more or less the same as it did those 3 years ago. I've made a few changes. We've got different speakers and stuff like that in here now. Also an old air freshener tree that needs to get thrown away. But basically the process of stripping the dash is going to be the same as what we did last time, so I'm probably going to have to refer to my own video to see how I did that. So yeah, fair bit to do. So yeah, make a start, I suppose. So from looking at my own video from 3 years ago, I know that the first job we want to do is get the lower glove box out, disconnected. So we've got a lighting panel under here, like a little kick panel to take out. That's 3 screws. I took this out last time as well, this little corner trim panel, and then I was able to take the whole glove box out itself. So we are going to be disconnecting the battery before we start disconnecting any of the head unit related stuff. But first of all, we do need power to be able to open the glove box and empty all the crap out. Right, let's go and chuck this in the boot. So once again, going to be using my orange plastic spudger tools.
Orange, just like our sponsor for this video, Autodoc. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the Range Rover's audio system, let me tell you why you should really be using Autodoc to save money and help keep your car on the road. Autodoc have asked me to tell you about their app, which is super helpful for keeping on top of your automotive maintenance. When you need car parts, Google searching can be overwhelming. Autodoc's search function is made just for cars, so it's easy to find exactly what fits your vehicle. No random results or dodgy websites, just the right parts right away. And that even includes those rarer, hard to find bits. Ignition barrel for a 1985 Land Rover 110, anyone? They've got it.
And look, here's some parts I ordered from Autodoc for this very car. Lovely big chunky lem forward lower arm there, about half the price that you would pay on pretty much any other retailer that I could find online. So yeah, go and check it out.
Autodoc want to help you keep your pride and joy on the road. Whether it's by their easy returns process if you order the wrong parts, or their really useful repair tutorials on their YouTube channel and in the app, it all makes keeping your car on the road easier and cheaper.
So Torx T15's down here. Pop this out, which we can. Yeah, this all needs a hoover before it goes back together again. And we can unplug the footwell light, pull that out. So then there's a row of Torx screws under here we need to take out, and a couple more at the back. So let's get them out. Okay. Unplug the lock and the light and the lock switch, and the little LED down here as well. And then this can come completely out the way. So some of you guys might remember this panel is where I hid the CarPlay unit, the Unique Auto Developments unit. So it's behind this panel. So that pops off, and there is our ID core unit that's been serving me well for the last 3 years. It's actually quite a neat install now I'm looking back at it. That's in there pretty well. Got a USB cable. This is the extension loom that we fitted, which goes to the, where is it? Back there. Got our head unit, as Land Rover calls it. So we'll have to take that loom out, take this box out, and yeah, start putting all the new stuff in. Anyway, next step is getting the dash top off, so let's get on with that. So the little clips that hold these vents in are a real pain in the arse. You've got to kind of pull 4 of them all together to try and pull it out. So you can use a couple of different tools. I've got a little poker here and a flat-headed screwdriver to carefully try and reach in there and release them. And then put that somewhere safe. So now that's out, we can reach these 2 Torx T20s, which hold the end piece in place. Okay, that's that off. Okay, let's get this battery knocked off. Nice and safe now. Okay, 3 little spring clips on that, and that gives us access to these screws here. I think we need to take this part out now. Okay, a few connections here, little, okay, and then the CD changer comes out, and that's our lower, sorry, that's our upper glove box. 2 glove boxes, very posh. Okay, now the dashboard's starting to look nice and scary. We can start getting the dash top off. So next up, we're going to start prying out this vent on the top and the speaker grill at the back there to reveal a few more screws. This should just prise up. There we go. So you might find, like mine, the front part of the vent tries to separate from this rear part, but just try not to damage it if you can, because any damage you make on the dash is going to be really visible when you're driving down the road, and it's going to really annoy you. So yeah, plus just take a little bit of extra care if you can. Right, so that reveals some screws in here for the dash. We'll try and get this vent out first before we move on to the next step. This one comes out a bit easier. Okay. So there's our centre speaker up there. Might be quite a nice project to try and replace that at some point with an upgrade. But that reveals 2 more screw holes in here, which I've just realised I don't think I ever put back in again. I'll have to try and find some screws for that. Right, so yeah, then we've got a row of, I think it's 4 big screws along the top of the dash here. 1 either side here at the ends, a couple here, and then the whole dash top should lift off. Right, so the dash top should be free now, I believe. Feels like it. But from memory, yes, we've got a yellow plug here for the airbag, which is built into the top of the dash. We need to carefully disconnect this. Remember, we've already disconnected the battery, so no worries about causing any issues there. And now, yeah, very carefully want to lift this thing out, which is quite heavy because of the airbag, without scratching it on anything. Ah, yeah, speaker. Oh, yeah, other thing is we've got to disconnect the speaker, of course. Right. Out we come. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so now that's out, we can actually get to the screws which hold in the head unit, which was the whole point of this exercise. So yeah, a couple on this side. Just realised there's a little clip there which we need to put back in somewhere. I think that's from the top vent. All right, so yeah, a couple of screws here. Torx T25 again. And then there are a couple just down the sides here, screwing the head unit down into the dash. My bits aren't magnetic, unfortunately, but they should be easy enough to retrieve. This should be free enough to lift up now. And then we can just tilt it forwards and access all of the plugs on the back and get those disconnected. 3, 4, 5, and then 6, I think, is the aerial. Okay, and we also have the extra one that we added to the FPC board inside this during the original install. So I need to carefully unplug this from the unit down here and then pull it out. Cable, so if you're doing this for the first time and you haven't had a previous CarPlay installation, you won't have this cable, but as I said, this is a redo in my case. Pull that out and now we should be free. Oh, there goes our screws. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is pull the head unit down from under the back here. This is basically the unit that communicates with the screen, and we need to add some cables between there and the new screen that's going in. We're also going to pull out the old ID core unit here that's been in for the last goodness knows how long, 3 years, and get rid of all the extra cables that we added as part of that install. So yeah, a couple of 8mm headed bolts, I believe. And we've also got to take this heater bar out from underneath here, which disperses your hot air to your feet. So these are going to be Torx T20s. So and if you guys are planning on doing this yourself, definitely add that to your list of tools that you're going to need. Torx driver bits. One screw and that little plastic tube comes out. Okay, 8mm socket. And there we go, so we've got all of our plugs in here that we added last time. Okay, so that's your head unit there, kind of a slim metal box with a few plugs on the end. And then I'm going to take out this extra loom that we added in as part of the ID core unit that was previously in here. So again, you guys won't have this, but I do. So that's our ID core unit removed. Served me well for the last 3 years, and if this doesn't work out, it will be going straight back in again. So I'm going to keep hold of it for now. So now is the time where I need to start making sense of what they've sent me in this box here. So as I said before, loads of cables, all kind of separated into 3 bags. I'll have a look at those in a minute. But the actual unit itself bolts into the dash using this bracket that they supply. So yeah, somehow this is going to bolt into the dash where the original head unit was and give us somewhere to slot the new head unit into. And then under here we have the actual screen itself, which, as I said, is a nice big 13-inch display. So yeah, there we go. We've got a screen protector on there at the moment, but you can see just the difference in screen area there quite clearly. So it's going to be a nice big upgrade. And I chose this unit because I think it actually does look quite decent. It almost looks factory integrated when it's in the car, from the pictures I've seen anyway. It has quite a nice shiny bezel around the outside here. Quite a small unit actually, not much going on back here. No CD drive obviously, no DVD drive. So this bundle here has got a lot of interesting looking things going on that I don't quite understand. We've got a box here that says CAN bus decoder for Range Rover, so something to do with decoding the CAN bus system in the car to suit the new head unit. And then head unit replacement box here as well, with a couple of connectors on. And we've also got an impedance converter. Again, unsure. But this looks like basically the loom that's going to plug into the loom that we just disconnected under where the head unit was. Like I said, these instructions really aren't much cop. Got a picture of a connector down there that I don't recognise. Yeah, not entirely sure. So I believe all of this lot is going to sit up here behind the head unit, because that all plugs into the back of the head unit. And this we're going to route down here if we can. It's quite a big plug to try and route. Just squeeze it down past that vent. And then this is going to run down and plug in to the original head unit plug down there. So I believe the new screen is actually going to do away with this head unit entirely. I don't think we're going to need this because there's no pass-through, unlike there was with the original system. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So should be able to take the surround off of the head unit now. And then I think what we've got to do is assemble this onto that, like that basically. So we keep our original surrounds, but then we have our new mounting for the head unit. So looks like they intend us to use these screws here. Okay, so there we have our mounting system. Actually looks quite neat, to be honest. So you can see that when it's in the dash, you're going to be able to, from the very side, you're going to see these plates, but they are painted black nicely to match the trim, and all of this will be hidden by the screen. So yeah. So next up, I think what I'm going to try and do is get this the right way around for a start. Thread all of this stuff through. We've added, and then get this positioned back in the dash where it's going to live, which is just there. So we've still got access to all of our original cables here and all the new stuff we've added. Now let's see what the instructions say next. So I've got some very difficult to decipher Chinglish instructions to look at here. So let's go through all what we have here in terms of cables, additional cables. So this one looks like what I'm going to call an auxiliary loom, because we've got lots of coax plugs here. For example, we've got audio out left and right for using an external amplifier, which may be very, very useful with this head unit, depending on how bad that audio quality is. We've got auxiliary in, left and right, so we can have an aux cable feeding in as well. We've got video out. I don't know if that's for adding an additional screen. Subwoofer out, again, could be useful in the future. CVBS in 1. Not sure if we're going to need to use that or not. We'll have to have a look. And then amp connection. This is a SIM card holder. So because this head unit can actually have its own 4G connection, which is quite useful. So if you want to, you can pop a SIM card in there and give the head unit its own connection. And then we also got a microphone as well, which I'm guessing is going to be used for the hands-free and for Google Voice and Siri integration. So we're probably going to need this one. We've also got what looks like a DAB aerial with a little SMC plug on there. Then we've got another aerial looking thing with another SMC. We've got a USB in connector with a little 4-way plug there. Another USB in. A long video cable, which looks like it could be something to do with a camera. Power plug adapter, an aerial adapter. A couple of these fiber terminators. These are like loops basically to loop out the fiber system, which I think we're going to be using. And then a few more, I don't know what these are, adapters of some kind. This looks like a camera, this looks like a reversing camera adapter and another reversing camera adapter for different types of cameras.
So at this point, I basically threw away that terrible, incomprehensible instruction manual and just started plugging stuff in where it looked like it should go. Luckily, everything only fits in one place, so it didn't take too much working out.
Okay, so then we're going to run this radio extension cable, which plugs into the back of the new head unit, down here. And then connect this down to where the head unit was plugged in to give us our FM radio. Okay, I think apart from the USBs, which we need to run in, because although this system obviously is going to have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, you sometimes need to connect via USB first to actually get set up. And it'll also serve as a little charging port as well, probably. So this needs to be run down the back. And then I think we're nearly ready for a bit of a test. Okay, we're just going to pop this into place kind of loosely for now. Okay, that'll go on. That should click into place, I think, but for now I'll just have it there. And I'm going to go and put the battery back on again and see what happens. It's going to be a bit scary, this. Hopefully it doesn't set fire. Right. Aha! Looks like we have life. Very cool. Right, so I guess all I need to do really now is check, do we have audio? Is the Bluetooth working? Right, so let's see if we can connect. Okay, so I've got something coming up on my phone, Android. See if it will connect. Okay, looks like we've got connection up there. Okay, looks like we're connecting to CarPlay. Aha, there we go. So straight into Apple CarPlay. Okay, you'll have seen me messing around there trying to figure out why I didn't have any sound. It's actually quite obvious, and it's a problem that I did have before, I'm pretty sure. You won't get any sound out of the system in the Range Rover as long as there's an open fibre optic connection. So like all the other parts of the system, the CD changer is connected via fibre optic connection, basically. So as soon as I plugged in the CD changer, the whole system started working and I got sound out. And so far, it sounds okay. Not amazing, but sounds decent. So I'm happy enough now that we can start tidying up all these cables and add in all of the accessory bits and bobs that we need, like USB cables and microphones and stuff like that, and put it all back together. This could either be GPS or it could be 4G. I don't think I'm going to use either on this head unit because I'm always going to be using CarPlay, which always uses your iPhone as the GPS source. But if you didn't have that, you could use this as a standalone GPS, so it would have its own built-in navigation like Google Maps or whatever, which is quite cool.
So next, it was time to do the bit that everyone hates, the cable management, and to put the dash back together again.
So, now that the unit's installed and I've had a bit more time to poke around with it, here are my initial thoughts. Firstly, the fit and finish are really good, much better than I was expecting. The bracket that comes with it to mount it to the dash is really solid, and once it's on here, this thing is really in there. It doesn't move around at all. No vibration or anything like that when you're driving down the road, and you can't move it by pulling and pushing on it either, so that's really good. Now if I put my ignition on, the screen will come on, and I'll show you the second thing that I find really impressive about this system. We're on the phone for some reason here. So the second thing that is really impressive about this screen is the colour and resolution and the brightness. Compared to that original 15-year-old Land Rover screen that was in there, it's a night and day difference. Not only in the size, but as I said, the resolution is about 1080p, and you've got a full range of colour on there. Everything looks really nice and clean and crisp. Now, as you guys know, this is an Android unit, so what you're seeing here is the Android kind of home screen, and you've got everything on here that you would expect to have on basically an Android tablet. So you've got a whole load of apps that are installed as standard, and you have the Google Play Store on here as well, so you can add more to it if you need to. So I know that Android-based head units aren't everybody's cup of tea, and that some people would absolutely hate to have this kind of thing sitting in the dash of their car, but for me, I absolutely love it. I love the functionality of it, and I love the fact that you can add apps to it and do really interesting things with it, which I'll get into a bit later. However, the main reason you probably want to install something like this is because it comes with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto if you've got an Android phone. So how well that works is of course a massively important part of whether or not you should buy one of these screens. Now thankfully it seems to work really well on this so far. So all you've got to do is press CarLink 2.0, which is the app that this uses to connect to your phone. Seeing as mine is already paired, it'll join straight away and come straight into your Apple CarPlay home screen here. It was really no fuss at all to get it to connect up. It just joined straight away, synced everything that it needed to, and just worked first time. So this works absolutely great as well. Pretty responsive. You have all the normal CarPlay functionality that you'd expect. And yeah, just generally looks really nice. As I said, the colours look great on this screen, so all the vibrant app colours and everything, and the Google Maps mapping looks great, although I haven't got much mobile data right now, so that's why this isn't loading properly, but yeah, works really well generally. I haven't yet tested Android Auto, but I'm going to get one of my friend's Android phones later this week, and we'll connect it up and see how it works, but I have no reason to doubt that it will work absolutely perfectly the same way that this CarPlay does. So if you watched my earlier video on the UAD ID Core CarPlay integration that we had with the original screen, you'll know that my biggest gripe with that unit was that the audio quality wasn't great. That unit actually sent the audio signal via the auxiliary input to the factory Range Rover setup, which for some reason resulted in a really kind of low impact, very kind of muffled sounding audio experience, which really didn't do justice to the L322's Harman Kardon 13.1 speaker surround system. And as a result of that, I continued to use my Invery Bluetooth adapter here, which feeds into the iPod socket, whilst I continued to use the screen with Apple CarPlay, and that worked quite well. However, that's not really ideal, because it does mean you've got to buy one of these Invery units if you didn't have one already, and it kind of does create some issues with routing the audio on your phone. You have to make sure you select the right device from your phone. So yeah, not ideal. So when I got this unit in, I was very keen to see what the audio quality is actually like. And so far, I've been fairly pleasantly surprised. It's not amazing, and I'd say it's not quite on the level that the Invery manages, but it's definitely decent and very usable. One thing that really helps the Android head unit out is that if we go out of the CarPlay and into the main Android interface here, we've actually got a pretty decent equalizer. So this is an equalizer which actually gives you the frequencies along the bottom here, and you can make fairly detailed, decent adjustments to your system to get it sounding a little bit better. And I found this actually helped quite a lot in getting the sound that I wanted out of the system. There's some other tabs in here which give you other functionality as well. So you've got things like this sound field adjuster, which will allow you to place the sound anywhere in the cabin. That seems to work all right as well. There is a surround menu on here as well, which I haven't really played around with too much, but that's basically to do with setting the distance of the speakers away from the driver, so it's supposedly able to compensate for delay. So that can kind of work quite well if this actually does work. I'm not sure about that. I'll have to do some more testing and see if it does anything. And we've got a bass filter here as well for the front and rear speakers. So if you've got a subwoofer engaged and you've got menu here for that as well, then you can reduce the amount of bass going to your speakers and just have it coming from the sub. So that's quite nice as well. Another thing I'm pleasantly surprised by is how well this integrates with the car's factory systems. So if we open up the app that says vehicle settings here, you'll see there's 3 options in here. We've got vehicle settings, 4x4i, and vehicle settings again with a cog. So first, if we look at the 4x4i screen, you'll see it's actually pulling CAN data from the car to do with our terrain response system. So if I steer the car left and right, you'll see the steering angle sensor is actually being monitored and reporting on the screen here, so that's accurate. Let's see, let's have a look. We'll put the car into access height and you'll be able to see this moving. So we are dropping down now and you can just see those wheels coming up slightly. As I said, that does look kind of a little bit funky to me. There's something not quite right about how it's aligned, but it does work. Come back up again. We've got rear diff and centre diff locking padlocks there to show if they're locked or not. The car doesn't actually have a rear locking diff, but that's on there anyway, in the same way that it is on the screen here. We've also got the high and low symbol as well, so I'll pop it into low and you'll see that should change as well, which it does. We've also got a little readout here which will tell you which terrain response mode you're in. That's kind of nice to have, I guess. So yeah, basically all of the function of that 4x4 info screen that you had on the factory Land Rover screen is here on the screen, so that's great. Now apart from that, we've also got another info panel here which is quite nice. So this screen also seems to be pulling data from the CAN bus from the car, so it's giving us our kilometers there. That seems to only update when the car is first started. It doesn't update as you're going along, but again, it could be fairly useful, I suppose, if this screen ever dies. We've got our engine speed there, which is a live reading, so you can see that goes up and down as I rev. Driving mode, which I believe is probably that's to do with terrain response again. Fuel range, so range before we run out of fuel. Suspension height, gears. You've got some kind of useful data on here. Now what would be really nice would be if you could change the feeds that it's pulling and put different stuff up on the screen. So perhaps I wanted some temperatures or pressures instead of the engine speed and distance. That would be quite nice to be able to do, but I haven't figured out a way to do that yet, so it might be something for the future. So if we look at the screen, you'll be able to see that I've actually managed to install the Gap IID control app onto the head unit itself. And I thought this would be a really cool way to bring up some live data from the car. If your OBD2, your IID tool plugged in whilst you're driving, you could bring up all kinds of graphs or live readings like temperatures and pressures on the screen directly here, which would be really nice, as I said, when you're driving along, or if you're doing any troubleshooting, or even if you're just towing and you want to keep an eye on the transmission temperature, for example. However, I haven't been able yet to get the screen to pair with the IID tool. It doesn't seem to be able to find it either in this menu or in the actual Bluetooth menu here. Now this seems to just be set up to find audio devices. It only seems to be able to find phones and things like that. And I've read that could be a setting somewhere within the system that I can change to allow it to have like a data transfer kind of connection as well. So I need to look into that more, because I think that would be a really useful use case for these Android head units. So then the final thing that I'm kind of excited for about this unit is the fact that it has a Toslink or digital output, an optical output on the back of the unit, which isn't something you find on most head units. And for me, that is kind of a big deal, because I have big plans for the audio system in this Range Rover. As it sits at the moment, it sounds fine, it's not bad, but I've always wanted to do a full audio install on a car, and that'll involve using a proper digital sound processor or a DSP, separate discrete amplifiers, and doing a complete replacement of all the speakers and the subwoofer in the back. That will mean I'll be able to basically tune the audio system perfectly and get it sounding better than basically anything else you'll find out on the road. And that's all going to be possible because it has that optical output on the back. And that's going to mean we're going to be able to get a bit perfect digital signal all the way from our head unit back to our DSP and amplifiers, which will probably be in the boot. And then we'll be able to create a really, really impressive audio system. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be another video that's going to be coming up at some point in the future. It's going to be a fairly big expense for me to buy all that stuff that I need for this, but it's something I really want to do, and I think it'll be a really interesting video for you guys as well. So yeah, my early impressions overall, really good on this unit. I love the way it looks in the car as well. It's a really solid bit of kit, well put together. I think it really modernises the interior of the Range Rover that's not in kind of a hacked up kind of way. It looks like it's meant to be there. Oh yeah, so a couple of other little points to mention about this is it has a 4G antenna, as well as a provision for putting a SIM card in it, so you can actually have your own separate data for the head unit if you want, which is pretty cool. And it also has a GPS antenna as well, which I've installed under the dashboard here. So this will function perfectly standalone as your own navigation without ever connecting your phone to it if you want, again, which is really, really cool. And the system also works perfectly with the steering wheel controls as well, both the volume and the skipping function. And as well as that, the mode button on the steering wheel actually works as well, which lets you switch between your sources, so radio here, whoop, whatever that was, Bluetooth music, and then this Lady Gaga that's built into the unit. It came with a little sample selection of 6 tracks here, which you guys can see. They've obviously got some fantastic taste in music there, but that all came built in as well. So you can actually, if you really wanted to, you can load up your own MP3s or WAVs, whatever, onto the head unit itself, and it'll just play them like that. Oh yeah, really cool little video they loaded up for me as well here. Now, I haven't actually tried to see if it will let me drive the car whilst this is playing, but I expect it will. Let's just see if we can just move out the driveway. Yeah, so that's a little bit sketchy. It doesn't seem to have any kind of protection against driving whilst watching a film, so slightly sketchy. Oh yeah, that reminds me as well, let's quit out of this strange Chinese stuff. It obviously works with the reversing camera, as you guys might have seen there, it just popped up on the screen. However, my reversing camera has died. It seems to have died a few weeks back. It wasn't working with the original head unit, and it doesn't work with this one either. However, they did include a 4K replacement camera that we can also wire in, so I might try and replace the original Land Rover one with that, because that's going to be a much nicer image anyway. It should be better image quality. One nice thing I did notice though, pop it in reverse, on the original L322 display, this box, which kind of gives you an indication of how close you are to things and the direction the car's going in, was static. But on this, it's actually got the wiggly, curvy box thing that kind of predicts the motion of the car as well, which is quite cool. Again, all tied into the CAN system on the car, so that's, yeah, really nice feature. So anyway, yeah, very, very impressed so far, and it's not a cheap upgrade. This it's about 400 or 500 euros depending on where you get it from. But I don't actually think it represents too bad value, and I think a lot of that cost is tied up in the development they would have had to put in to actually get it to work with the L322. This isn't just a straightforward system that you can just hack any old head unit from Halfords into. They've got it working with the original speakers in the car, they've got it tied into the CAN system of the car, and it doesn't cause any errors anywhere else in the car either. There's no error codes on the system, so from my point of view anyway, it seems like a pretty well developed system that they've actually had a really good think about. So yeah, there's a lot of people that don't seem to like these things for one reason or another, but from where I'm sitting right now, aside from the usual kind of xenophobia that people have around things from China, I can't really see why that would be. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about this unit, about what it can do, if I've missed anything, leave a comment down below in the description. As I said, I'm going to be doing follow-up videos on this anyway when we get round to doing the full audio system in the Range Rover. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to carrying on using it, my daily navigation tasks, my music, everything like that, and getting some more interesting apps installed on it as well, and seeing what else we can do with it. So yeah, all round, pretty impressed. Anyway guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a like down below, consider subscribing to the channel. We're on the verge of, hopefully, I've said this many times in the videos now, but getting into a really nice big garage here in Ireland, which is going to be huge for the channel. And I've got loads of projects and stuff planned for the future relating to Land Rovers and Range Rovers and other cars as well, and other projects. So yeah, exciting times. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.